What is going on, y'all? It is the Caveman. I'm here with Football with Oz, Austin, for episode 39 of Against the Blitz. We took a little bit of a break. I was out of town. We decided with some other things going on and it being the dead of the offseason, it would be a good time for our first and maybe only break ever in history. Who knows? But we're very excited to have a very special guest. Someone that, if you've been watching myself personally for quite a while, you would know I've had on in the past. Anthony Prohaska from Cover One. He is a thrill to talk to. Super smart guy. I love the first conversation we had, and I think this one is going to be levels above it. So, Anthony, thank you for taking the time today.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you for a very flattering intro. I appreciate all the kind words and the time. And yeah, I'm pumped to sit and talk with you again and not have to stress out about trivia like I did the last time.
Yes,
that you know of.
Yeah, I would say that is true. I'm jinxing a lot of it right now. Like I'm just waiting for it to drop at this point.
I don't have any plan, but I might have to throw a trivia question or two out there.
I'll find one.
Just to trigger some trauma.
I'll just throw up live right here on the screen. It'll be fine. I'm cool with it.
Well, as you, I'm sure, read from the title, we are doing the deep dive on the Buffalo Bills, and it's pretty much the same structure. If you watch the last couple episodes that we've done, we're going through positionally, and we're also going to kind of give our 53-man roster prediction as we are going through positions. So that is an extra new feature we're kind of throwing on top. I do want to plug one thing before we continue. We have a Discord server that I think people are trickling into as we kind of mention it, but that will be linked down in the description below if you're interested in joining that. And of course, Anthony and all of his stuff on Cover One and his social medias will be linked in the description. So make sure you're checking all of that out. Well worth following. So we will start at the top of the team with the quarterbacks. And Josh Allen, of course, exists, but there is some of a meal to have here with the backup plate, the dessert, I guess, maybe in Buffalo. So, Austin, I'll start with you. Mitch Trubisky, Mike White, did you really have any thoughts on this? Did you just glaze over it?
Well, I mean, me of all people as a Bengals fan know what Mike White is capable of as he put up like 350 yards on us that one time. But yeah, Shane Buechele doesn't move me a lot. Mitch Trubisky, I feel like Bills fans hate him more than most people do. I've heard a lot of Bills fans say he is just like completely an inadequate backup, like incapable to be the two. I don't really know because Josh Allen, like knock on every wood you can find, doesn't really get hurt very often. So I'm not that concerned about the Bills' backup quarterback spot, really.
Yeah, I kind of agree, Anthony. The battle that is seemingly going on, as Austin said, there's not been much seen from Mitch, but from Mike White, do you think there's a chance he could steal that job now?
I do. And I think from an on-the-field perspective, I think White could win it. I think the biggest kind of wild card in that conversation is really what the backup QB spot has been for the last several years, which is really just like a dude that Josh Allen likes, like his like buddy or friend or someone he's cool in the room with, or who might offer something, aside from on the field stuff, like they had with Case Keenum, or was it? Yeah, Keenum, right? A couple years ago. Yep. I would like it to be Mike White. I think Mike White offers more at this stage than Mitch Trubisky does. It's weird how, like, I never thought Trubisky was holistically as terrible as like he was when he left Chicago. And then now, even just seeing him in the preseason, like he just takes very little chances or shots. There's no real like quarterbacking to him. And I don't know if that's because it's the preseason or he's under some kind of instruction. It could be different. But I genuinely do think Mike White offers more as the backup. And I think recently, like sample size isn't huge, but the past several years, I think White has shown more. I would like him to win the job. I just don't know if he's going to be able to do enough to force the hand versus Allen just being like, yeah, but I like Mitch. Let's keep Mitch. And then they're like, all right, cool. We'll keep Mitch.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Because one of my questions was, do we feel like the Bills have kind of had too loose of an approach to the backup quarterback position over the last few years? Because last year it was Mitch. They also brought in Mike, of course. The year before that was Kyle Allen, Case Keenum. Mitch was here in 2021 as well. And before that, it was Matt Barkley. It's like we never really have anything back there that makes you feel like we have some sort of opportunity to maybe win one out of the next 3 games if Josh Allen went down. So I wonder if your theory of, it's about who Josh likes, does that matter a lot? Because we know it's influenced who they've drafted before too. So I'm sure that has something to do with it, because I was even going down the Our Lads depth chart of all the quarterbacks, and I'm like, this is a bottom 3, bottom 4 backup situation. Like,
Hey.
I don't think there's anybody out there that I would not take over them.
I mean,
That's
I
fair.
was wrong. Mike White put up 405 yards against the Bengals.
Holy crap.
He was 37 of 45.
Damn, that's a crazy good day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Michael Carter at running back. Yeah, I mean, Mike White is a bad superhero quarterback, but he's really good at just quarterbacking what he has to do to get through 3 games, like you said. So also like what you were saying, I think that he definitely could beat out Mitch Trubisky. And also, like you said, like he's just been a backup quarterback for a long time. I think that he knows how to be the best friend of the starter, kind of like what you were saying. And I don't know, like I think like what you were saying, Cave, is like they haven't had to. So they haven't had to invest anything because they've had the same starter for X amount of years now. And he hasn't come out because he's like the new Brett Favre. So
No jinx. No jinx.
Yeah, no jinx. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
So much.
Yeah, it's like they haven't been in a position like the Dolphins have where they're scrambling for Tyler Huntley or for Zach Wilson or somebody with a big name. Like they'll just get anybody, like Matt Barkley, like you said.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it is considered, like, even the Ravens. I know Lamar has missed a fair share of time too, so I'm sure they're a little bit more weary of their backup situation. But I feel like the Ravens are a good comparison in this sense because they're always prepared. One of the best quarterbacks in the league, but they still have a backup that they can lean on that has won them games in the past, or at least Huntley did. And now they invested in Cooper Rush, who people, would probably vet as one of the better backups. Same thing we saw Jake Browning. We've talked about Jake Browning on here a decent bit. One of the best, maybe the best backup in football.
Yes, Bengals quarterback in a long time.
Like, there's not a lot compared to the rest of the league. Like, even Jordan Love with Malik Willis and, Sam Howell just got dealt to the Vikings. It's like there's just so much more everywhere else. And God forbid Josh went down. It's like, we're fucked. Yeah.
I feel like at that point, though, you just punt. Like, if Josh goes down, you don't want to win games. Like, you get your good draft pick, unless he's coming back for the playoffs. But, like, if Josh is down for the year, Burrow style, you don't want Jake Browning coming in to win you 4 games and then get you pick 19 again.
That's a fair point. You got to go with that, like with the 49ers model when Jimmy G went down, and then they ended up with Bosa because I think they had the second pick and the Cards had the first pick. The Cards took Kyler, and the Niners got Bosa. Like, the Niners were a really good team, but I think that was one of several years where like everybody got hurt for the Niners. Like, everybody that was important got hurt. They finished with a horrible record, and they got a sick pick. But I do think that is somewhat baked into the conversation with Allen. And I know, for as much as Allen is the MVP and one of the stars in the league, this is a run-first offense, and that's the foundation for the Bills' offense as a whole, that personnel and alignment and all the schematic benefits of it. But I do wonder how much is baked into the conversation of, well, if Allen goes down, we're screwed, so forget it. Like, we might as well make him happy. Let's keep somebody in the room who he's a fan of or we think offers something, but let's just keep Allen happy, because even if we have the best backup in the league, one, we don't have the money to have the best backup in the league. 2, right. I wonder if their thought is also like, we're probably dead in the water anyway. We might as well just like let it rock into, Austin's point, kind of just like punt on it a little bit. I would like them. I do think they have been a little loose with it. I would, one of these years, give me like a 5th round or a 6th round QB that we just know is going to be cost controlled and cost effective for the next 4 years, can grow a little bit, does something exciting. Give me somebody with some kind of mobility or skill set that you're not going to match the skill set of Allen. You're not going to match the skill set of Lamar, although they've come close to some of the backups trying to mirror that, which is kind of funny. But just give me somebody to kind of build on that is going to be there for several years, so you don't have to kind of play this game. But again, at the end of the day, if Allen goes down, they're probably screwed. So it is what it is.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I wouldn't hate if this is the angle they approach it. Then I wouldn't hate that. Just forget it. Like, let the season ride, and we'll build for next year. I don't hate that. I feel like more teams need to adopt that mindset depending on the scenario.
It's just so hard because you got to account for all the variables of like players actually caring and trying. And then like, do they know you're punting on the season? Do they know that you know that they know you're punting on the season? Like, it's just so, I don't know. Like if somebody came to me and was like, I understand the math of it and the brass tacks of like, oh, we should suck so that way we get a better pick. But also like, how do you go out there and do that? It's so tough to tank. Here's why. I mean, the Patriots, we were joking, making Jordan Milroe jokes before. Look at the Patriots screw themselves because Milroe balled out and they beat the Bills and then they got bumped down. Like even when you're a bad team, it's hard. Like it's just wild.
Yeah, that is true. Like they were trying to probably trying to lose that game. Yes, they did.
In the sights. In the palm of their hand. God. And think about that. Like you granted, maybe Will Campbell turns out to be sick and Hunter's overrated. You never know. We'll see what that conversation is. But yeah, like, oh, that's just so frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, this is very unrelated and also on a very bigger scale, but the Panthers just won the Stanley Cup, of course. And a couple of years ago, the Brad Marchand, who had an opportunity to beat the Panthers with like 1 second left in overtime to boot them out of the playoffs, it could have changed the dynasty forever. It's like the whole butterfly effect kind of thing. Like,
I love that. I'm a huge fan of like the big like sports moments that changed everything. Like if this doesn't happen, what if this changes that? Yeah, that's a good one. The Marchand one's a good one.
Yeah, literally like 3 seconds left. He's closing in on Bobrovsky, and he could have completely killed the entire dynasty. Who knows what would have happened? It's crazy.
You never know. That's such a big one. Hockey has destroyed my soul. The Sabres have killed my love for that sport.
I'm so happy I have not gotten into it. I feel like I would hate my life more, and I can't do that.
Playoff hockey's sick though. Playoff hockey, I think, is like the best playoffs of anything. The intensity, like the energy, it's nuts. Playoff hockey is a different type of brand, and it's so cool.
Well, I'm like a local fan, so I'd have to be a Blue Jackets fan, and that's not happening.
No, that's fair.
So I'm saving myself. Yeah,
they've had their moments.
They have had their moments. They've had some teams at times.
Unlike Buffalo.
The Bills had their moments when I was a tiny child, and they haven't had any since.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll move on from quarterbacks. I think.
Final predictions for the 53 man. Who you got?
I think I agree with the rest of you guys. I am a Josh Allen and Mike White believer.
Lock it in.
Yeah.
Lock it in.
Lock it in.
No one has a third quarterback being taken to 53 man.
Emergency quarterback, Mitch Trubisky, but
that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're doing that now. But
that's true. I forgot that was even a thing.
Yeah, I'm not counting that.
No.
Yeah, neither am I. No, I'm going with 2.
All right. We'll move on to running backs. And this is, I'm sure, especially for you, Anthony, the most dreadful conversation to have at this point because we've had it. So I'm sure you've had it so much. I haven't been having to talk about James Cook that much because
I've had a lot of people yell at me about my thoughts on James Cook in the situation. It's very, very polarizing. Yeah.
Well, I'll let you take it away then because it's of course where this is going. Like where
I will yell at you.
Yeah. I think James Cook is a very good running back. I think he fits the scheme a lot. For as much as the Bills are run game driven schematically and do have a very good offensive line, like not necessarily on paper individually, but the whole of this offensive line, and they have one of the best offensive line coaches, position coaches in general in football, and Aaron Kromer, but their ability to function so well in pass protection, but also their diversity in the run game. Like they can get to a multitude of zone concept or gap scheme concepts. They can get to zone. What they have in Dawkins and Brown being so athletic and all the tackle pull stuff that they do to supplement not really pulling their guards because Edwards and Torrance aren't the most mobile. McGovern is such a smart center and his arm length matters. He's good at structuring the depth of the pocket and took over for somebody in Mitch Morse, who was a really good center. So they have, I think, a good ecosystem for a good run game in general and other running backs to come in and succeed. That being said, I think James Cook playing above the scheme has been so downplayed by so many Bills fans in so many conversations to the point now where it's gotten to be like, take him out, put anybody in there. You can put Ray Davis in there, he'll produce the same. Put Ty Johnson in there, he'll be the same. Get a rookie, he'll go in and play the same. And I just don't think that's the case, especially with how Cook played last year. The juice and the speed and the burst, both long and short, were there for him. But he ran with more physicality. He was breaking more tackles, almost a half yard more yards after contact per attempt than the year before. He's breaking tackles. He's running hard around the goal line, in addition to having like the long 40, 50, 60-yard house calls to his game. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. I know people like to be like, yeah, but he dropped that pass that one time, so we can't catch. He sucks. I think that's a bit overblown. I do think he's a really good running back. I'm not paying him what he asked for if the rumors are true. I'm not giving him $15 million a year or more. I think he can fall into the range somewhere between David Montgomery and Alvin Kamara, which is between like $9 million and $12 million a year. I still don't know if I want to pay him that, but I think he's a good running back. I think he matters a lot for this group. I think Davis is a really good 1B. I love Ty Johnson and what he is as a 3, but James Cook is extremely valuable to this Bills offense because of not only how he functions within the scheme, but how his skill sets and traits allow him to play above it and just make plays one-on-one that pay dividends for this offense.
Yeah. I'm not sure how you get yelled at for that answer. That seems like the very reasonable answer. Like clearly, statistically.
But that's what's so frustrating about it. I'm like, I think that's a pretty logical. And then people are like, no,
you don't know. Well,
pay him whatever he wants. He's great. And then the people on the other side are like, you don't know. Ray Davis could do the exact same thing. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'll just be quiet. Like you just get it from both because I'm like more in the middle on it. I just get yelled at from both sides. Rather, if I picked an extreme, that extreme would be with me, and I just have to deal with the other one.
No. I mean, if I'm paying $15 million for a running back, it's a guy that is on the field all 3 downs, does not have to come off ever. Like I am paying maybe Bijan Robinson that if he is like the lifeline to my offense. But if you have Ty Johnson coming in on 3rd downs and you have a good enough passing offense, like you don't necessarily need it. You have the running back depth and the offensive line. Some people are right. Like there would be success if Ray Davis came in and a rookie came in, but it wouldn't look the same, like you were also saying. So, yeah, like I agree. Like he's probably more valuable than Montgomery and Kamara are today. Like he would be absolutely worth that amount of money, but just 15 mil is steep. It's a little steep. So yeah. I probably wouldn't quite give him that.
Yeah, I'm not going to continue to beat the drum here. I would add on to that by saying I'm starting to lean toward believing he won't be a Bill post 2025 because I just think he's that upset. Of course, I'm reading tea leaves here, and we don't really know what internal negotiations or conversations look like. But from what we know, he's not very happy. I would assume he's probably feeling slightly insulted, and like this.
Especially all the dudes who got re-upped this offseason, like after this, like Shakir, Rousseau, Bernard, Benford, and then he's just like looking. It's like the Will Smith Fresh Prince skit where he's just looking around in the room by himself, like why am I not gonna be?
Absolutely. So I think he has a right to feel the way he does, but I think there's also, of course, the business aspect of it, and I think unless he has, I don't know. I guess it all depends on the season he has. Like this is the most important season of James Cook's individual career by a mile. That goes without saying. But if he gets, he barely, crossed the 1,000-yard finish line last year. The touchdowns are what's kind of keeping him afloat in terms of a negotiation right now. So if he does just barely clear it and he gets to like that 7 touchdown mark, like I could see another team definitely handing him a bigger paycheck than Buffalo. But
yes,
if he could cost himself a lot of money at the same time too, if he does have a season that maybe is below 1,000 yards and it's only 5 touchdowns, and then other teams are like, okay, well, what happened? And then all of a sudden he's like, maybe I do want to take maybe a couple mil less and be with a team that's actually going to win. So I think he is also probably gambling a little bit here, which is all part of the chess match, but it really does all depend on what season he has. I just personally don't think he will be here post 2025.
No, if they're smart, they'll just have Josh Allen sneak in every single goal line touchdown. Get those, like they'll do exactly what the Eagles did to Saquon, like take that MVP away from him. Like you're not getting 24 rushing touchdowns, you're getting like 11. Same deal here. James Cook gets 7 touchdowns this year. Josh Allen gets like 19.
Yeah,
caught that.
Yeah. But it's possible. Yeah,
it is actually possible.
It is possible, and I also add too, like I'm all for James Cook chasing the money. If somebody pays him 15 mil a year or 16 or whatever, like he wants, take it, dude. Like any snap on the practice field or in a game can be the absolute last for any of these players. I got no problem with any dude at any point chasing the bag. And everybody I can't believe he's asking for 15. What happens if someone gives him 15? And I don't care if it's like, oh, like, I don't know, like the Jags gave him 15 and they suck, or whatever team that you think is terrible gives him 15 mil a year. Cool. If they give him 2 years, 30 million, 15 mil per, like 19 or 20 million guarantee, he wins. Like Cook gets what he wants. And if that's more important to him than winning, who cares? God bless you, dude. Like, get that security for yourself and your family. I know people talk about the influence of his brother being a negative, but that's also probably a positive for him. You have an older brother who is a crazy good running back in this league, who has experienced injuries and has lost money and left stuff on the table. So do you chase the bag? Like, it's unfortunate for fans of teams, but that's also what annoys me with this conversation. Like, you mean to tell me, like, if you were doing your job, whatever job you have, and someone came and decided to pay you a crazy amount more, you wouldn't go take that? You wouldn't be like, well, I make like $10 an hour. When someone's offering me 50, oh, I'm going to go take it. No, you're just going to be like, well, I'm not really worth that. Let me stay and keep my 10.
Yeah.
Like, you would take it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I think people forget that there is a shelf life to these players, and winning isn't, for a lot of guys, everything, because they are actually thinking about their well-being after football. Like, we don't think about
a running back nonetheless.
Yeah, yes. Even more so, exactly. Like a running back who has an even shorter shelf life than an already short shelf life. And like these, what do you do when your career is done? Especially as a running back. Like once you hit like most running backs, like 28, 29, they're like ready to take you out to pasture and be like, oh, you're old. Like, you can't play anymore. Like
you are day trading. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. So unless you're ready to like lock up an analyst job somewhere, you've made a bunch of really good investments or something, like get your money while you can now, and then a lot of you guys figure it out after.
If LaShawn McCoy can do it, though, Jesus, anybody can.
Oh, don't give that model. He's out there just throwing nonsense against the wall with all his it's man, I hate that guy.
Yeah, I've talked about him so much here.
He's something. He is something at this point.
Yeah, well, I would like to think that anybody could do a better job than LaShawn McCoy on television, including James Cook, if he wants to go that direction.
I'm sure he could.
I would love to watch Cook do that because he's so quiet and doesn't speak. Like, I would love him to be like, James, what do you think of the game today? Like, huge result. And he'd just be like, they lost. Yeah. They'd be like, all right.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. They lost. They didn't win it.
Well, I think there really isn't much else to this backfield. We know what the depth looks like. Ray Davis is returning. Yeah. Ty Johnson is absolutely returning. I guess there is a segue that I will take in a second, but I do, like I said, project James Cook to be gone. A rookie, James Cook, maybe Ty Johnson's under contract till 27, 8. I think he'll be here too. So it'll probably be just the running mates that are going around now, and not Cook. So
that's very fair. Yeah, he signed a 2-year deal with an easy. He doesn't have a ton of dead cap hit next year, or a ton of dead cap if they cut him. Like they can drop him and not really have it cost too much. But I do think like that. Like Ray Davis and Ty Johnson, I see being here this year and next year. Like they keep 3 running backs this year. It'll be Cook. I think it'll be Cook, Davis, Johnson, similar to what it was last year, and then Davis and Johnson again, pairing with a rookie. Or maybe a cheaper free agent who signs like a 1-year, $5 million, $4 million deal, something like that. You bring somebody off if you don't like the running back market. Or I don't know, you ball out and get Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame when he comes out, who is sick, but that's probably going to cost a little too much draft capital. But it's fine.
Like a late first,
He's so good.
All right, I think we all have Cook, Davis, and Johnson, right?
Yep,
agreed. As the 3 guys. All right, well, we'll quickly cover the fullback, I guess. We'll give Reggie Gilliam his flowers because he also lumps into the running back conversation too. You can't forget about Reggie. And
I want him to get more snaps for Reggie. He's good in his role. They just don't use him on offense, and they should more. Well, I mean, it's hard to say that when they're a super good offense already and to nitpick about that. But yeah, he's a good dude. He's underrated.
Well, we'll segue that because some people are talking about tight ends, that drafting Jackson Hawes might make Reggie Gilliam expendable. I don't think so. I think Reggie's a lock for this roster. Jackson, I almost kind of feel this. I think both of them make it. I think both Jackson and Reggie end up on this football team in 2020.
Jackson Hawes is the sixth best blocker on that team now. Yeah. That dude's blocking. Like I had to stand up a few times when I watched his tape. Like I just stood up and like against my own will. He is such a good blocker. And like he'll obviously bring nothing as a receiver, but you have Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox for that. Like that's not a thing they need. It's just I'm actually really like get Reggie out of here for all I care. Let Jackson Haas play. Let him on the field. So good. Man. 13 personnel. I don't care.
Yes. I legit want that. I'll take it further. I want 13 personnel and I want a 6th offensive lineman on the field, and I'm going super condensed. So you got your 5 offensive linemen, and then attached to the line of scrimmage, any combination of Knox, Alec Anderson, and Hawes. I don't care who goes where. I don't care who's the traditional inline Y, who's hipped off. I don't care. And then split out wide is Dalton Kincaid. And then the defense has to figure out, do we have somebody who can match up with Kincaid one-on-one from a size or athleticism standpoint? Is it a corner? Cool, that corner has the athleticism. Is he big enough? Do we got to do a safety? Is it the nickel guy? Do we have a big enough? Like, talk about the matchup piece. And then, aside from that, you still got to figure out how to fit the run, which means Kincaid's probably getting a one-on-one, so it's advantageous out there. Plus, you can just mash the hell out of people in the run game with that lineup. Yeah, I like the Hawes pick. He's super legit as a blocker. I think he's got enough burst and athleticism in like the 0 to 10 yards that he can be a threat on some like leaks and some play action stuff. And that's good enough for me. Like I do think they end up keeping him and Gilliam, similar to how it was like Morris and Gilliam last year, really just because Kincaid is a willing blocker. He's just not what you need as a blocker. And if they want to give Knox a spell, you got to put Hawes in there, or you have to get Gilliam to convert more to tight end stuff. Or you could use Hawes in some of the fullback stuff if you wanted to. Like, he legit can do that. So if there ever was more of a year that Gilliam was threatened, I think it would be this year more than the previous ones with Quentin Morris as their tight end 3. So I do think there's a chance that Gilliam goes, but his value on special teams, character guy, I think he stays, but I don't think it's crazy to think that he gets bounced and they use Hawes as tight end 3 and fullback 1 to kind of save a spot, because they don't do a ton of fullback stuff anyway.
Yeah, it's possible. I feel like the special team stuff, like you said, is really what will keep Gilliam around. Like, and speaking of Hawes too, if you ever were wondering what direction this offense was heading, like people were talking about, maybe they're taking a receiver this year, maybe taking Jackson Hawes is the number one indicator of what they want to do. They want to run it back, do the same exact thing offensively.
Literally, pun intended, run it back. They're going to run the football through your face. That is what they are. Like, that's the biggest misinterpretation of the Bills offense. Yeah, it's like, well, who are they throwing the ball to? And it's like, they don't care. They're going to run the ball down your throat. That's all they want to do. Like, that's it.
Yep. Well, speaking
Who
of,
are they going to throw to? Yeah.
A very good question, though.
Great segue.
Well, we'll talk about Kincaid first, too, because he's been a very big talking point for the Bills, even last season, going to the offseason. Austin has expressed his what word do I want to use? He doesn't believe that he doesn't believe that Kincaid will bounce back. I do. Maybe I'm biased, but I don't want to speak for him. I'll let you take it away. What do you think Kincaid will look like in 2025, Austin?
I think that he just looks the same. I think that, like you said, he's a willing blocker, but I think he's like how Mike Evans is a willing blocker. He tries, but like, you don't want Mike Evans lining up in line tight end all the time, especially when you run the ball so much. And I think, like you said, like they really want to run the ball, and I just don't think Kincaid can eat that many snaps when you really, really want to run the ball. And you have Dawson Knox and you have Jackson Haas. But I do really like Kincaid in a more expanded role. And like you said before, bouncing him outside a little bit more, expanding him as a receiver, as a route runner. That's where he's always at his best. Kincaid is a slot receiver at his best. He's not a tight end. Similar to how the Bengals used Gesicki this year. I think Kincaid can eat if they move him around, but not where he is right now.
I agree. I was gonna say pretty much the same thing. I think something I've expressed to Austin too is we have heard, and within Bill's Twitter and the rumors that have come out, like he apparently dealt with, not apparently, he did miss time, but with a knee injury. But there was also a pre-existing knee injury that he was dealing with before the one that kept him off the field. So he'd been dealing with all sorts of weird shit that I watched him of course, going back into this episode, trying to really determine if I felt like he was lacking maybe some burst or some speed across the middle of the field. And I don't know, maybe my eyes are playing tricks with me, but I thought he was lacking that. There was some lacking burst. Like I felt like there was definitely some struggle that he had that was holding him back. So I'm hoping that that's kind of where it all came from, because he really is one of our best at this point, especially our best man beaters. Like we don't have, at least I guess we'll see what we have now, but he's supposed to be. That was the whole point of drafting Dalton Kincaid. So that's what we need him to be. And I think also losing Diggs and losing Gabe probably congested things a lot for this offense through the air. I think, Keon was supposed to be our threat down the field. We were supposed to have more of a replacement for Gabe. And I don't really, in my opinion, think that happened. And when Kincaid wasn't able to work over the middle and in the intermediate game as much, because maybe defenses were being more aggressive, then that also affected what his output could have been. So it was a weird year for poor Dalton. I think he caught a lot of flack, unnecessary flack.
Yeah. Well, it didn't help him for the last play of the season. I think that really put a stamp on his PR team.
Yeah.
And he's from Utah, so that's even a worse one.
What do you got against Utah? Well, yeah, I think regardless, I think there definitely needs to be more from Kincaid, and having no really expanded investment in pass catchers this offseason, it goes to show that they're not just committing to Keon, but they're committing to Kincaid becoming more of that as well this year. So they're really investing in him to be more of that. But I think we're all agreeing that Kincaid, Knox, and Hawes will be the three.
It's my three
in the tight end room.
Agreed.
And Gilliam.
I'm sticking with Gilliam. Yeah, I'm keeping Gilliam and Gilliam.
All right. So 4 running backs, 1 fullback, or 4 running backs, or 3 running backs, a fullback, or 4 tight ends.
Whatever. Whatever Gilliam is.
Yeah, whatever Gilliam is. He's a jack of all trades. That's what he is.
Yeah, he's a gadget.
That's right. And value.
The roster just said 1 Gilliam.
And 1 Gilliam.
Add 1 Gilliam. A dash of Gilliam.
All right. So we'll get to the fun with the receivers. Talk about the meat and potatoes of this offseason. And I have to ask, Anthony, your thoughts on the Brandon Beane radio crash out, because I was driving to work, listening live. I've become a recent radio watcher. I feel old listener. And I was listening on my way to work, like 3 weeks in, the fresh WGR listener, and Brandon Beane's on, and he starts losing his shit. I'm like, what were your thoughts? Did you feel like it was justified? Did you feel like he was out of line?
So what's funny too with that? I was so super sick that week, and I was like down and out for like back-to-back days. And the first day that I was down and out was the day that happened. So I came back to life like 2 days after, and everybody was talking about this Brandon Beane thing. I was like, what happened with Brandon Beane? Like, why? Like, what's going on? I think he was justified in what he said. I think the way he went about it isn't, the professional aspect, right? Like, you shouldn't be a GM and let people get to you like that and getting on the radio and hollering. And I get that, but I think he was justified. I think there's so much conjecture where guys are like, where the team is like, damned if they do, damned if they don't. And that's kind of a curse of being like a good football team. When you have a certain level of expectations, everybody all of a sudden has thoughts, even more so than when you're down and out, and that level of expectation changes. But the thing that gets lost in that whole conversation for me, and where my frustration with that conversation comes, is this isn't a pass first team. If you told me the Bills were going into 2025 and they were going to, spread it out, and they're going to live in 11 personnel, but spread, they're going to have 4 receivers on the field. They're trying to throw it 35 to 45, 50 times a game, and they want Allen to throw for 5,000 yards. I don't think this is the wide receiver core to do that with. Like, you've set yourself up for failure. But if this is a wide receiver core where the foundation of your offense is running the football and the offensive line and heavy personnel and creating mismatches and creating advantageous looks for your offense based off of alignment and based off of personnel, they're fine. They built this wide receiver room like the proverbial basketball lineup that everybody loves to throw around nowadays. Like, you've got a bit of a point guard, you've got a shooting guard, you've got a power forward, small forward, you've got a like center, you've got the ability to kind of work in a lot of different ways. And I think adding Palmer and Elijah Moore, while I don't think either guy's going to set the world on fire, but the route running capability of that room went up. Palmer's ability to win one-on-one on the outside, in the underneath and intermediate, and his ability to separate declaratively because of the deception he operates with as a route runner, I think pairs well with Allen. I think this receiving core is fine to operate how this offense is going to operate, which is what they were last year. I think they needed more of a true X presence that they wanted from Amari Cooper. They never really got it. He seemed kind of banged up. Well, he did get banged up and then just never really caught on for whatever reason. I think this grouping has enough. I wish they had more is fast. I wish they had more of a speed presence towards the top of the depth chart, like an actual burner. I know people love to talk about, like Palmer can win vertical, but it's more due to deception and play call than it is like this dude's just going to outrun people. So I wish they had more of a true verticality towards the top of the depth chart rather than being a skill set mixed into the room. But I think this wide receiver room is fine as the sum of its parts. Or the whole is greater than the sum of its parts type of deal. And they've all got skill sets that can work interchangeably in a variety of ways. And it's, again, like last year, it's on Joe Brady to maximize that mix. And he did it last year. I have faith that he'll do it again. Plus the run game is good.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with having like a true stretcher at like the top of the depth chart.
Yeah.
And like, dude, if they were in position last year to draft Xavier Worthy, that would have been a fantastic pick too.
Yeah, crazy. But, it's only if only they could have had somebody like that. I'm not here for
about that enough.
I have more faith in Keon Coleman than I've led to believe. Like, he still is, while he's not a burner, he still is very athletic for somebody his size. And he's still relatively raw for the position. So like, I do think that there is untapped potential, like a lot of it.
Yeah. And
you could see some kind of a Michael Pittman roll down the line of a pretty productive, big-bodied guy that moves well. But yeah, I agree. Like, Elijah Moore at one time did look really fast and really quick. So like, there is a chance if he's just like didn't become washed by age 25, like there is a chance that he actually still has this in him with the first good quarterback of his career. And not to erase Laviska Shenault, not to erase him off the face of the earth. But there is some extra fun gadgetry there that like this team went for.
I will say there's one guy that is a lock for this group that no one talks about, because what is there to talk about? I think Curtis Samuel is holding someone hostage in his basement. That like why? I'm sorry. He made one play. I'm gonna beater against Sertan, and that was the saving grace for
I'm gonna push back super hard on this. He had a bunch of good reps against Kansas City the first time they played in the regular season. I don't love Curtis Samuel. I didn't love him as like this. I liked him as an additive to Stephon Diggs and Kincaid in that offense. And then Diggs went away, and I was like, oh, this is a little worrisome. So I don't love him, and I don't think he plays as fast as a field stretcher as his times indicate, being like a 4-3 guy. But the only reason I'm defending it, I was at training camp those first several days last year, and he was being used as that, move piece and that adjuster all around the offense by Brady. He was being put in motion, favorable matchups with alignment. He was being used to create leverage horizontally and vertically, and he was cooking. He got that toe injury coming out of camp, tried to play through it, never really gained traction, no pun intended. And then as he got healthier down the stretch, he started to work. I don't think he's ever going to be like a true number 2 or a true 1. I do think he has more value than last season indicated. And we saw that as he started to get healthier, man, like him and Shakir and the switch releases you can do and the bunches you can put them in. And he has a lot of gadgetry value, meaning Samuel, and some ability to still stretch, some ability to do some stuff after the catch. And he had really productive years with Brady in Carolina. He's just got to stay healthy. The problem is he seems to not always stay healthy, but with how the rest of the room is built, I think there's enough skill set redundancy to cover up for him. But I do think he has more value. He just needs to stay healthy. And even he still wasn't healthy towards the end of the year, but just that little bit of that toe injury starting to heal, we saw him start to improve.
Hey, I mean, all I'm gonna say is I hope you're right, because I don't know. It's just we this is a skeleton crew that they run over here, because that's just the type of offense that Buffalo, they run the ball. We've said it 19,000 times now. So they don't have many guys in this room to begin with. And just to have someone that was kind of just around last year for valid reason, he was hurt, but I don't know. I just don't see a vision where I feel like his skill set it just doesn't fit into this offense as well as it would have, like you were saying, when he was originally signed. And that is the problem. I think there could have been more investment to give him competition on top of it too. Not that I thought he was going anywhere, but he's just a shoe-in. Like, he's a lock for this team and no one talks about him. And it's like, why is he a lock for this team? But he's probably got a pretty good cap hit though. Because his contract was not bad. It was not bad when he originally signed it.
But now you hate it because you hate him.
Yes.
You hate your team. You hate the Bills.
Yeah, I've been very anti-Keon in the nicest way possible. So I won't beat that horse.
This is where the Curtis Samuel trivia segment comes on.
Oh yes. God. What is the exact details of Curtis Samuel's contract?
What are his coordinates right now?
Can't look it up.
Coordinates is better. Oh, contract. I think I don't like three years, 24 million in my head. I thought he was getting 8 million per. I could be right. I think it's 3 years, 24 mil. And I know he's got a good cap hit this year, and so the dead cap would be bad. But yeah, I think it was like 3 years, 24 mil, which isn't crazy.
Yeah,
could be wrong.
Yeah,
I don't know what his coordinates are.
Well, you failed.
That would be better.
Are there any Caden Prather fans here?
I like him. I just don't think he's gonna make the roster. Yeah, I think he's got some. I like him as far as like he had potential, and I like some of like I like the combination of skill set and traits and size and frame kind of mixed into one. I just don't think he has a shot to make this roster. Like the bottom of because they are a run first team, because I think they're going to keep 3 tight ends plus Reggie Gilliam. I just think it's going to be hard for them to keep a 6th, hard for those back end guys to make it again, unless something like, I don't know, maybe Samuel gets hurt early in camp and and maybe this time, instead of letting him play through it, they put him on IR. And then you see somebody climb up from the bottom, and it's kind of a Joker in the Dark Knight situation with the pool stick of who wants to join our team. You let all those guys at the bottom fight to the death for it.
Yeah. God, Reggie Gilliam ruins everything.
You just can't have any fun when Reggie Gilliam's around.
I'm writing a book, Reggie Gilliam Ruined My Life.
Dear Reggie, thanks for ruining my life.
I'd like to see him make the roster because he's like the only receiver outside of Keon Coleman, of his prototype, except that you just have Keon. And Prather's never going to play over Keon, so I get it.
You said it so sad. I
get it.
Yeah,
I was kind of low on him as a prospect too. I just want to see Josh Allen rip that ball again, and he's like the perfect guy to do it with.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think this will be another five-man receiver room. I think that's based on the trend we're all taking to. It kind of feels like that would have to be the case. Right. I have, of course, Keon, Shakir, Curtis, Elijah Moore, and Josh Palmer. Laviska Shenault was kind of the fun addition, but it's just not happening. There's too many guys and not enough spots for Laviska.
Yeah,
I agree.
I had the same. I had the exact same.
Okay.
No Prather.
Oh, thanks a lot, Gilliam. Yeah.
You, Reggie. All right. Offensive line. There's really not much here. I think I was kind of my note here actually is, other than Alec Anderson and obviously Tommy Doyle, who's gone, I really don't think anybody knows much about the Buffalo Bills offensive line depth. Like I don't think the average, I know you guys can, okay, rub it in. If you walked up to 90% of Bills fans that were tailgating, I don't think they could name more than 2 backup offensive line.
Yeah. But I liked some of the idea of bringing on a 6th lineman, and I love Chase Lunt for that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Chase Lunt has the arms to be a tackle, and he's too damn tall to be a guard. But I really like bringing him on and just putting him out in space, getting a running start at a linebacker. I like Chase Lunt a lot for this team, honestly.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it's not like a slight toward the depth. It's just we never have to see them. Like all of these other teams
Yeah.
have these offensive line injuries that they're dealing with, and somehow, by the grace of God, the Bills haven't had to deal with that. So we don't see our depth offensive linemen very often. So we've been fortunate in that sense. But I don't think it's a desolate situation back there. I mean, Alec Anderson's obviously a swing. I think Chase Lunt does make the roster personally. And then, Ryan and Cedric, I think, are also locks. So
yeah.
I was going to hope Anthony could kind of shed some light on what those guys are all about. Just kind of give a quick rundown on who they are, because I genuinely don't think many people know they exist.
So if you're looking at it from just like a depth chart perspective, actually, I'm going to start with kind of who I think makes it. And I think it's similar to what it was last year. So you've got your starting five. We'll just go from left to right. So you've got Deion Dawkins, David Edwards, Connor McGovern, Osiris Torrance, Spencer Brown. Alec Anderson is offensive lineman 6. I think he makes the team. Tylen Grable played well last year. I think he makes the team. And then they also kept Cedric Van Prank-Granger and Ryan Vandermark last year. So they had 9. I think the top 8 are locks. I think Dawkins, Edwards, McGovern, Torrance, Brown, Anderson, Grable, SVPG, because I always butcher Van Prank-Granger's name, even though I've just said it right these past 2 times, but it's a fallacy. I think there's a chance Vandermark could get beat out by Lunt. I just find it hard to believe. And I also think there's a chance maybe Kendrick Green, who they brought in from Houston, has a chance to maybe do something, but I highly doubt that as well, just because of his skill set and how it fits. It's really just for me, I just believe so much in Aaron Cromer that whoever they decide to keep or whoever they add in, I'm like, oh, he's going to just reshape this guy into whatever they want. But aside from the top 5, Ryan Vandermark, you've got some swing ability. He's better on the left than he is on the right. Although I always reverse this. No, he's better on the left than he is on the right. Filled in somewhat admirably, briefly, in that first game against the Chiefs when Spencer Brown went down, to the point that people were talking after the game. The players were like, yeah, Vandermark stepped up, and everybody was like, when did Ryan Vandermark go? Yeah. And people didn't even notice that Spencer Brown left because Vandermark just stepped in. It was almost kind of like seamless. SVPG, the athleticism at the center spot, the headiness. He has been on the smaller side, shorter arm type of side. So he's got physical limitations, but from a movement standpoint, a leverage standpoint, a body positioning standpoint, that's kind of what he was hanging his hat on at Georgia. That's what he's hanging his hat on here. Made the team as a rookie. I think he makes that team again. Alec Anderson is that all-world 6th offensive lineman, can play a bit of tackle, can play a bit of guard. You can line him up in line. You can put him in. All the motion stuff that they do with him is one of my favorite things. Austin, you mentioned being able to do that with Lunt as well. But Anderson just fits that profile so well. If you want to, put him in blast motion, you can run that into counter or power and just line him straight, just go duo and mash teams. Tylen Grable is the one who I think surprised the most people last year, being a later round guy and really being more of a traits guy from a length and athleticism profile. But he was out there snatch trapping folks like Dawkins and Spencer Brown do in the preseason last year. He had several really good reps. And again, you're banking on kind of the upside, but his floor I thought was significantly impressive last year, considering what my expectations were for him and him being more of a ceiling guy. So I think if anybody's going to get bumped out, I think it's a chance to be Vandermark. But I really do feel like the top 9, I think they keep 9. I really do think it's kind of set, but Vandermark could get beat out and it wouldn't completely shock me.
Okay. Yeah, I do have 9 as well. So I do have my only difference is I have Tylen out and I have
You have who out?
Grable, is it?
Oh, you're making Tylen Grable go bye-bye?
Grable, yes. I am.
No.
I have Lunt in
You
there.
fool.
I do like Lunt. I like Lunt a lot. And I think, like you were saying, about Ryan, like you said, I forgot that all happened, genuinely. But when Ryan stepped in against Kansas City, no one really did know. And that speaks to the whole Aaron Cromer thing and the ecosystem. And this isn't it's not built on the names. It's built on the environment. So.
Especially with how, and I'm remembering it correctly now, I liked him the year before, so 2023. But he was so much better at left tackle than right. And I remember this because 2023, everybody was still kind of uncertain on Spencer Brown. And then he played better and then he balled out last year. But it was man, Vandermark looks great at left tackle. Let's see what he can do at right. Maybe he can beat out Spencer Brown. And he was terrible at right tackle. But he's improved. Again, in Cromer we trust type of deal. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that to make sure that I remember that correctly. I traced it in my brain while you were speaking. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So, Austin, do you have 9 as well?
Yes, I had the starting 5, and then I went Grable, Anderson, Van Pran, and then I put Lunt because I just love Lunt. But
Do it.
it doesn't matter either one. It's a UConn right tackle. They all work the same.
They're all the same. The heart wants what it wants. Listen to your heart.
It does.
All right, so 50 minutes in, we're going to get to the defense, which has
All right.
more
We'll
players
rapid
to talk about.
There's actually way more interesting.
Yes, it is. And we'll start with the interior defensive line, which is, for obvious reasons, the position that I'm most excited to see within the next, not just this year, but see how it pans out over the next couple of years because of how much was invested into it. And I wasn't a big fan of trading up for TJ Sanders originally, but I have come around on it. I think he fits very well. I'm excited to see there's a lot of lateral quickness with the guys I have now too. And I'm excited to see what they can pull off, what Babbitt and McDermott come up with, especially like with Sanders. You got Larry in there now too. Deion Walker, there's a lot of up in the air about because of his injury. Like, what do we do? Does he make the roster? Is he going to be thrown on IR? But Anthony, I'll start with you. Let me start with Deion Walker. He's obviously the lottery selection here. Do you think he's the winner? Do we scratch Deion Walker's number and he's a winner, or is he
a loser?
A loser.
So serious. I recognize how much of a unicorn he is in a lot of ways. I do think I'll just get right to it. There's 2 things. I think one, the back history has to check out. Like, it's a problem. Like, he has a defect in his vertebrae, which is a significant thing, especially for a dude that's huge. And he is a monster of a dude. So you need to get the back in check. 2, I think he needs some significant body recomposition. He is a huge man with skinnier legs and a lean type of lower body. He cannot carry that weight, especially in his midsection like he did at Kentucky and last in the NFL. What's so annoying about Deion Walker for me is, so I wanted more of a run presence. I wanted somebody who could limit displacement and be more of a plugger in the middle while not completely sacrificing penetration. My dream was Tyleik Williams. And if you listen to the rumors, and the rumors being what Tyleik Williams said, if he was there at 30, the Bills were picking him, which I find extremely heart-wrenching, but also interesting. Getting Walker, everybody leaned to the sides and like, oh, well, there's the big monster in the middle. There's the plugger. No, he plays like Ed Oliver. Like, he's a penetration guy. He's got versatility. You can line him up all on the offensive line, but he's not a plugger. He's not a displacement limiter. And if anything, because of how top heavy he is and how he's built in his leaner frame, he gets pushed around more than you would like. I think the biggest thing is the wild card, which is his back. And for me, again, I think it's the body composition, which I think isn't just for me. I think that's a significant piece in the NFL because he plays high, because he's a super tall dude, and he's got the back injury. And before anybody listening jumps in or watching jumps in and was like, yeah, but if you watch the 2023 tape, it's way better than the 2024 tape. And I get that, and that's fair, but he's still getting pushed around a lot there too. He's still playing high in 2023, even before that back injury was a thing. I really think it's going to come down to him and Carter for making the bottom of the spot if Ogunjobi's suspension throws a wrench into everything. But Walker is a huge wild card. I didn't like the selection because I don't like his play style, but I recognize the ceiling if you can get him healthy and if you can get him to change his body type a little bit. And I do agree that the flashes are extremely intriguing given his size. I just think there's a lot working against him before he can contribute meaningfully and regularly at the NFL level.
Yeah. I've said enough mean words about Deion Walker in the pre-draft process for this. Like, I remember him being mocked like 7th to the Jaguars, like the preseason. And then I watched it and I was like, this guy is kind of poop, to be honest. Like, when I'm like I just kept thinking the word oaf over and over again in my head. Because he's really big and athletic. Like, not even athletic. He moves well for someone that big.
Yeah.
And like the entire thing, I was like, he just plays like a basketball player. And that's not necessarily like a good thing. Like, he's nimble and he moves well and he's huge, but like super top heavy. and gets pushed around way too much. Like I remember the Georgia game, Tate Ratledge bullied him like a lot. He bullied him a lot. And it's rough. But I did really like TJ Sanders looking back at it too. But a lot of Bills fans' biggest gripe, like you were saying also, is like they needed to stop the run. Like half of the season, they needed to stop the run. And it got better when Milano came back, but like it was a much bigger issue for them than the pass rush was.
Yeah.
So to still not really get much of a true run defender was a little worrisome.
They're just leaning into more of, at this point, and again, the Tyreek Williams pick would have been more of that plugger in the middle. But he's got some athleticism. He doesn't have a pass rush repertoire, and he's not a huge penetrator, but he's got some juice to his game, especially for a guy of that size, which is why I wanted him. I thought like on a scale of 1 to 10, he could be like a 5.5 or a 6 as a rusher, but he would be like a 9.5 versus the run. And they do. I still think they do need that, even when everybody's healthy and everybody's not on suspension. Like the really only like the guy you have who's really going to limit displacement for you is Daquan Jones, and that's it. Ed Oliver does a better job of it than he gets credit for. He'll drop the knee against double teams. He can reduce his surface area and cause problems on the inside. I just don't want that for Ed Oliver. Like I want him to just play with juice and penetrate and get forward and slash and play to his size and his skill set. So I don't think they've answered the displacement questions. And I don't think they're going to. They leaned into the archetype they've always had on the inside, which is penetration over stoutness, over, instead of being guys that are going to limit displacement, they want guys who can shoot gaps. They want one-gapping, penetrating dudes on the interior, and they value, if push comes to shove, they value rush over run defense. You still got to be able to play the run, but they'll take somebody who can shoot a gap and cause a problem in the backfield rather than kind of withstand a double team and hold strong at the point of attack. They're really going to lean into the penetration piece. When they're all healthy and back from suspension and everything's all said and done, you're looking at Ed Oliver and Daquan and TJ Sanders and Ogunjobi, which I think is the top 4. And then the 5th, I think it's a battle between Walker and Carter. Carter, I think, has the inside track just because of the health and the body composition concerns, but he didn't have a good rookie year at all in any way, shape, or form. And yeah, they're really just kind of lean into the all gas, no brakes aspect, and they're just like going to attack. I think we're going to see a lot of stunts, games inside, a lot of havoc creation because they just don't have the dudes inside to withstand double teams and limit displacement vertically or horizontally.
Yeah, that's why I like you said with the stunts and the creativity that we could see on the inside could come from the lateral, like the quickness of a guy like TJ Sanders and Ed Oliver. So hopefully that they will lean into that because they really don't have a choice, if we're being honest. So I do agree that the top 4 are Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, TJ Sanders, and Larry. But the 5th, Dwayne, Dion, like I've read that Dion could be ready by week 1, but then I've also read that like there's a chance he could be put on IR and who knows when he returns. So I don't know. I feel like there's not been a solid report out there that is definitive, which of course it's June 18th, but
right.
Still it's hard to say and project this type of thing when you don't know really what is going on.
Yeah.
So. And to kind of segue into that, I would say they're kind of leaning on the edge rushers too to help in run support. I think that's also where a lot of their investment, like Joey Bosa at this point, that's kind of, I think, I personally didn't strike the Joey Bosa investment as somebody that they're hoping is going to come in and wreck the quarterback. I think it was more of a run support investment. Landon Jackson kind of fits that same description. And that's where I think they're putting a lot of their faith to stop the run is the guys they've brought in on the edge. So what were your thoughts on Landon Jackson? What were your thoughts on the Joey Bosa signing, Anthony? I'm interested.
I like the Bosa signing from the perspective of if he gets the Von Miller role, I think he can be better. He can be a better closer than Von Miller. I think his schematic fit, Von was an outlier as much as I like his skill set. He was an outlier for what the Bills like at the edge, which is they want pocket compression guys. They want dudes who will compromise the width and the depth of the pocket and not so much bendy athleticism moves type of guys. Greg Rousseau is the archetype. They want, and even Landon Jackson, they want length and violence. They want you to play through someone's chest and knock them back into the backfield. Bosa has that in spades, and he understands how to manipulate the sets of offensive tackles. He's really good at reading quarterbacks' drops and knowing where their landmarks are going to be and how to influence that. The power is still there, and he's actually a really good run defender when healthy. I just don't think he needs to be on the field in run defense reps for the Bills because they've already got enough dudes on that depth chart at edge to fight the run without needing him to do that. So I do think he can be better in the Von Miller role than Von Miller was. It's just a question of whether or not he's going to be healthy. And of course, as we record this, he got friggin' hurt already and he should be ready for camp. So we'll kind of see, like, when healthy, he's a terror. It's just a matter of how healthy he is. My biggest hope was if they play him on the pitch count like they did with Von, he has a higher chance of staying healthy, but he already got hurt this offseason and we haven't gotten to the regular season. So I think he's a wild card. I'm a bit worried. Good news is I think they have enough functional depth to kind of mitigate it a bit. But I do think he's more important than he gets credit for. I did a full episode on this like several weeks ago. I think he's more important than he gets credit for because he's their best hope at having a true edge one from a pass rush perspective. I think Greg Rousseau is awesome. I think he's more of a Robin than he is a Batman in terms of a pass rusher. He's more of a 2. Could he become a 1 this year? Sure. Is he one of the best run defending edges? Not edges. Is he one of the best run defending defensive linemen in all of football? Absolutely. But he's more of a 2 as a pass rusher. So you need a 1 to play off of him. Bosa is their best shot at getting that. If you don't get it with Bosa, then you're hoping Rousseau takes that jump. And even if Rousseau takes that jump, is someone else taking a jump? Because you still don't have enough juice from a pass rush perspective. So I think Bosa is more important than he gets credit for. I like the signing, but not off to a great start. Landon Jackson, I like some of his tape, but dudes that are high cut like he is really worry me. I don't like guys with stiffness in their lower body and long legs, but he plays so violent. The one rep against Tennessee that sticks in my head, he beats the right tackle inside, and he gets his face mask grabbed and completely turned sideways, and he just plays through it, and he sacks the quarterback. Like, he did not care that the right tackle almost broke his neck. He just played through it and got the sack, and I was like, okay, like, that's cool. He's going to play the run. He's got some speed to power, got some compression. He fits their archetype and what they like from a character standpoint, a mentality, and a play style standpoint. I don't love the pick as a lot of others do. I know a bunch of people think the value is great because in every mock draft, he went in the 2nd round. So the Bills getting him in the 3rd means that the value is extraordinary. And I understand that. And I do think it was a good value pick. But I'm just concerned how the stiffness in his build plays at the NFL level. Just given those kind of guys tend to give me pause.
Yeah, we'll piggyback off of some of the Joey Bosa stuff because I hated it. I still do hate it. And
it's tough to put your eggs in that basket when that basket has like shown that it keeps breaking. And then you're like, well, maybe we can fix it. And it's like, oh.
Yeah. I think also it can be hated when like Trey Hendrickson was being talked about as possibly being a Bill for a little bit.
Oh, yes, that's the point. At that time, it was like, man, what if we trade for Max Crosby or Trey Hendrickson? It was like, how about Joey Bosa? And it's like,
wait, why?
Why? Yes. Like,
yeah.
And now we're at a point where we have Joey Bosa, so we can't even kick the tires anymore. But the last I've heard, Trey Hendrickson like hates the Bengals right now. Like, he doesn't want to be there. He thinks they fucking suck and they don't want anything to do with them. And it's just such a bad situation. And publicly, it seems like all the leverage would be on the side of the team trying to acquire him. So it's like, and we can't even be interested anymore because we paid top dollar, at least per the rest of the NFL, for a guy that hasn't played a full season in 4 years. The guy's missed like 23 games in the last like 3 years. It's just insane that this was the solution. And we've been trying to find, you say he's important. He's more important to the Bills than he gets credit for, but that's probably not good in my mind.
And that's exactly it. Like you just said, like he's the solution. That's the problem. Like he's the solution. It's the pro and the con. Like, if he works out, awesome. He's a good solution. If he keeps getting hurt, that's not a good solution. You needed a true, like, one-on-one. You needed a dude off the edge who could get you a bucket. Like, you can play ISO ball and let him go to work and put up 30 points for you or get you that bucket when you need it.
Yeah.
And that's the choice they made. And again, when healthy, he is 1,000% that guy. It's just, if he's going to be healthy, it's a toss-up. But that's exactly your point. Like, and mine as well. Like, That's why I think he is more important than he gets credit for, because he's the solution to kind of a big problem, and we're not off to a great start.
Yeah. All right. I mean,
Trade him for Trey Hendrickson. Let's trade him.
Trade him for Trey Hendrickson?
Even swap. Let's call it even.
Even swap. Yeah, I'll take AJ Epinesa off your hands too. How about that?
That's fair. I will trade Joey Bosa and AJ Epinesa for Trey Hendrickson. Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked the analogy of like a guy that can get you 30, like ISO scoring. Like,
yeah,
you don't need an all-pro. You need Brandon Ingram sometimes. Sometimes you just need a guy that can get you a bucket on any given night. But they went after DeMar DeRozan instead, and that's a bit of an issue at this point.
Analogy.
That's a bit of an issue. Like, it does not help your future. It might help you win like 2 games.
Yeah.
But you need a full season's worth. Like, I mean, I guess, but like of all things considered, it is an improvement though. Because Von Miller also did play.
Yeah, I guess.
Von's numbers were misleading for me. I think he finished top 10 in like pass rush productivity, but he had a lot of great flashes, but I think some of his productivity was a bit overstated from folks. But like, I like this group on paper, but like, we're talking from a depth chart perspective, right? Like say Bosa is out, say Bosa's banged up. And Michael Hoyt is also suspended 6 games, but I like him more. I like the Hoyt signing a lot, but I don't like him as a true edge. I want him used like the Rams did in that spinner role, that Clay Matthews Packers role. I want him lined up in the A gap. I want him lined up off ball. You don't know where Michael Hoyt is rushing from. Like, I don't want him to be a traditional edge rusher, but he's going to factor into that depth chart. But if you discount Bosa, your edge grouping is Greg Rousseau, AJ Epinesa, Michael Hoyt, Landon Jackson, Javon Solomon. Like, that's the top of the grouping.
Pack it up.
Javon Solomon. I haven't heard that name in years.
Who is providing your top pass rush juice off the edge? And that's part of it too, right? Like, if you don't have a true one, okay, that's fine. You can win by having a bunch of B pluses or Bs. I don't know if the Bills have that, coming off the edge. So that's why Bosa is their ceiling guy. And then Rousseau, they need Bosa to be Batman so Rousseau can be Robin. Or again, maybe Rousseau jumps and then you get 2 Batmans, but then you still have depth questions behind that, because AJ Epinesa took a step back as a rusher last year, but he took a jump forward as a run defender, which doesn't get talked about enough. Hoyt, I think, is going to be used all around. Solomon is a year 2 guy that's very much unproven. Landon Jackson's a rookie. So do you have enough depth, high functional B plus guys? Or, I liken it to what the Sabres were in 06 and 07 when they should have gone to the Cup. They didn't have like a true number 1 line, but 3 of their 4 lines were like a high quality 2. You had the Briere line, you had the Drury line, like Gaustad was line 4, but their line 4 functioned more like a 3. They just had a ton of B and B plus dudes. They didn't have any C minuses or Cs, but everybody was like a B to a B plus, maybe an A minus. So you can win that way, but I don't think the Bills necessarily have that at edge. So you need the ceiling guy to balance it out.
Yeah.
It's scary and annoying because we do this every year. Like, who will rush off the edge?
And if Hoyt is suspended, 6 games was it?
Yeah.
Yes.
And if Bosa is out,
what do you think?
Landon Jackson.
What are you rolling? It's Rousseau, Epinesa, Jackson, and
Gilliam.
Solomon. That's your top 4.
Gilliam?
We're putting Gilliam out there. He has like the Elvis Doomerville build. I think we could do it.
That's actually a very fair comp for the build. And put Hawes out there too. Just let Hawes and Gilliam run through dudes' faces.
He's smart. He went to Yale.
Yeah. Yeah, it just is a bit, mind-boggling, because you just have to wonder. It's not even like Joey Bosa came here on a discount because he wants to win. As far as I know, we offered him the most money out of everybody. So it's like, what was the thought? Like, how badly did you want Joey Bosa on this team that you couldn't be like, maybe I'll part ways with one of our 10 fucking picks that we have and one of the 8, B to C level edge rushers that we already have, that you couldn't have went and tried for Trey Hendrickson. It just, boo. I don't know.
My hope was they have had a good medical staff, and they've largely been in the McDermott Bean era, like, good with injuries. My hope was they knew something we didn't, and they were like, no, we can keep him healthy. Like we
Josh
know how
Norris.
to keep him healthy, and we'll be good.
What did you
Josh
say?
Norris with the Sabres.
What name? I think he's Josh Norman.
That's what I thought he said too. But yeah, Norris with the
That's-
Sabres, the same thing. Yeah. Oh man, he's got this upside, but he's hurt all the time. And then Norris gets hurt like the friggin' first day in Buffalo. And you're like, all right, cool, fantastic, great.
Yep. So it's just not.
Sports are dumb.
Yes.
I agree. I quit.
Yeah. I'm done. Thanks for having me. I'm out.
Well,
I think we could do. I think we all agree though about who's going to make it. There's really not much.
They don't have a choice.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Rousseau, Bosa, Hoyt.
Javon Solomon's the only one that
Yeah.
hasn't played enough to where he gets an automatic ride. He kind of has to ball out, I think, or show some flashes of it at least for him to kind of because he is different. He is the only one to me that is a splashy pass rusher that really could, unleash. Be maybe not Brandon Ingram, but he might have a little RJ Barrett in him. He might be able to get some splashes.
RJ Barrett.
He might have that in him.
Basketball player.
That's funny. That's a good comp. I like that.
He might have some Malik Monk in him. You never know.
Wow.
There's a splashy athlete there.
That's the question. Do they keep 5 edges? Is it 5 edges?
Oh God.
And 5 interior dudes, or is it what they did last year where it was 6 edges and then 4 on the interior?
It's a bunch of dudes.
It's an interesting group.
I think they go 5 and 5.
I
think they split it 5.
That looks about what I got, honestly. Yeah.
Because Hoyt gets thrown on the suspension list, so they'll have to have Solomon for 6 games.
Yes. Yeah, and then when Hoyt comes back, then you play, and Hoyt and Ogunjobi come back. So then it's okay, does Solomon come through? Does Carter come through? Who's getting bounced? Is Walker on the IR? Is Walker getting bounced? That time frame, once they're each eligible to come off that 6-game suspension, it throws the kind of both position groups into flux in a fun conversation way, but not so much for dudes who want jobs.
Yeah. Right. Well, we'll move on to linebackers, and there are a couple talking points here. Shaq Thompson being the latest one, the yearly acquisition of a Panther or former Panther does come through. It cashes the minus 180 bet of the Bills to sign some Panther.
Yeah, 2 of them this year.
Oh yeah, didn't we?
Dane Jackson, right? Didn't he play for the Panthers?
Yeah, but he used to be a Bill.
That doesn't count.
He did, but he's
an
a
original
Panther
Bill.
too. Yeah, I mean, Shaq Thompson's kind of exciting. As a 3, as a kind of rotational chess piece defensive player, not necessarily having to play a bunch of snaps behind Bernard and Milano. I like it. I mean, I didn't look at the costs. I don't think it was much. I assume it wasn't much, but
it's minimal.
If it's minimal, then that's perfect.
Talk about a guy we have to wrap in bubble wrap. He is next to Joey Bosa. He's played, I think, 7 games in the last 2 years. So
that's
another player that hopefully can just stay on the field. But I do agree. I think the upside was worth what we paid. I don't see what the problem was, but
I have had a a season-long agenda for Joe Andreessen. Is that how it's pronounced? I don't know. But when I watched him in the preseason, I was like, there's no way this guy is not starting next year. There's just no shot. The guy was the best linebacker I've ever seen in a 2-game stretch.
Yeah, that game, the first game against Pittsburgh, he looked like an all-pro in preseason. It was nuts.
I thought he was the next Milano, legitimately. But it doesn't really look like he makes the roster, but
I think he does. You don't think he does?
You think so? There's so many linebackers on this team that I'm looking at right now, especially for special teams bodies. I just don't know. Mm-hmm. There's 6 that I'm looking at that kind of all could compete.
And they kept 6 last year as a point of reference.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Because they have Spector still there, Olafocio's still there, Dorian Williams. I know some people hate him, but
well, no, you talk about hate. I did not realize how many people hate Balin Spector. People want that guy.
People hate him. Yeah,
it's insane. I thought he was a team's body. I thought he is. He is. Team's body?
But he's had to function as a linebacker at times with injuries, and everybody. I don't think he's as bad as the rap he gets, but everybody just thinks he's so useless as an actual linebacker, and he just gets. It's so weird for a team's body, bottom of the depth chart guy, and everybody just hates him.
He's the most hated Bill by a mile.
You're supposed to expect him to suck. Every time that that any special teams player comes in, you're okay, well, they're going to target him this game. That's to be expected. Balin Spector, a big-bodied little white dude from Clemson. You don't expect this guy to be, Milano in coverage.
No, they do.
You're supposed to.
Yeah, they do.
That sounds like their problem.
Well, the
That's
second
exactly-
Shaq Thompson was signed, all of the quote tweets were "Goodbye, Balin. Bye,
Yeah.
Balin. Yes,
That's
fuck
so
Bailey
sad for
Spector."
Balin.
It's like
It's
why?
also sad in general. Like that's some dude's job. Like you're willingly
Yeah.
being like, "Oh, hope you get fired." Like it's
Yeah.
just like, all right, man.
Get off my field, White. Yeah, I mean, like Ulofoshio, I don't know if he even really played at all, but I remember him in college, and there was like an element of like leadership, high IQ, something that like I feel like the Bills could really use, but also there's like 7 people here right now that are all kind of competing for the same spot. I just don't know who like the 5th, 6th, 7th guy is going to be.
I went with 5. I kind of.
You went 5? Okay.
I went Milano, Bernard, Thompson, Dorian, and I put Andreessen in the 5.
I love it. Andreessen, I also put, but that's because I love him. That wasn't actually a prediction, but I hope he does.
5 is the special team stuff is so wonky because Spector plays teams, Ulofoshio plays teams, Andreessen could, Thompson's always hurt. I'm gonna go with 6 and say Milano, Bernard, Dorian, Shaq, Ulofoshio, and Andreessen.
Be careful.
I like that.
You don't want to get assassinated. You can't have Spector in there. You're gonna.
I want Ulofoshio to make it. I feel like Ulofoshio could be good once he like has like some proper actual like athletic development, because that was like his really only thing is he's just not like an athletic freak, but like he's a legitimately good, smart football player.
Yeah, let him play
go
teams,
5.
come into his own, go from there.
Yeah.
If
Hell
they
yeah.
go 5, I could see him making it over Andreessen.
Mhm.
So, well, we'll get to defensive backs. This is primarily why I kind of skimped out on a lot of positions, because this is where I was like, I don't want to make a decision, so I just kind of shoved as many guys into my lunchbox as I could have. The defensive back room, the cornerback room specifically, is very, very interesting. And am I crazy for saying that I think Dorian Strong could have a more immediate impact or maybe a better career with Buffalo than Maxwell Harrison? Is that like a crazy take?
No,
Like-
I mean, like if you look at every like corner that has succeeded for Buffalo, it's not the ones they draft high. It's like Christian Benford, Rasul Douglas. They get from nowhere. He was like a practice squad guy forever, becomes a legitimately good starter for them, and now like they go after Hairston first round, but he has a lot of questions. Like he's very undersized, kind of a specific play style, but Dorian Strong's a really good football player. I was very high on him, so I would not be shocked.
Yeah, he
Brandon
fits
Beats
the.
special.
That's exactly what it is. Like he just fits the archetype. Like dudes they take late on day 3, ton of snaps, ton of experience. He comes from a school that prioritizes defense in Virginia Tech. Like he just fits their competitive mindset and the responsibility piece, and they value that more than anything. It's why Levi Wallace was a starter for multiple seasons. It's why Dane Jackson was a starter for multiple seasons. And both those guys on paper, you're like, oh, really? And then it's like, actually, both of them were kind of like high-end CB3s, low-end CB2s at times for the Bills, and they're not that caliber. But in the Bills' defense, and because they're such a good fit, it works. I don't think it's crazy to think that. I want Hairston to win the job. Just because of the ceiling. I do think he has questions, though. I think the size and frame and the inconsistency in his tackling, he's very much the antithesis of what they look for at corner from an archetype perspective. So it's really interesting kind of juxtaposing him and Strong. But no, I don't think that's too crazy, given just their track record with dudes at the back end of the draft and how Strong fits their archetype at corner from a skill set and mind standpoint.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's kind of how I thought about it. And, there is kind of this trend for Buffalo. They played a lot more cover 2 man last year. This is exactly what they're trying to trend in, that man coverage direction. And that's not really what Maxwell Harrison does. So I think and with Trey White being how old he is, and who else, like Dane Jackson's over there. Like I think Dorian Strong's path to snaps is a lot clearer than I think Maxwell has more of a competition against Trey White than Strong does against either of them, if that makes sense, because of what they're going to be doing or the purpose they're serving, I should say. But my cornerbacks, I had 6 making it. And I went
is this counting nickel? Slot?
I mean, yeah, it is, but the Bills, we'll talk about it. I do. Yes, it does. I have Benford, Tehran, Harrison, Trey White, Dorian Strong, and I put Brandon Codrington on the back end.
Oh, yeah.
So they need somebody. Like, I think they brought in Chenault because they do want to prioritize the rule changes and, maybe making a difference on special teams. But Chenault's just a one-trick pony, so he's out the door. Codrington, they gave the keys too early. He did a good job. I think I think they love him, honestly. So
Yeah.
I have him fitting in the 6th spot.
Who did I have?
It's tough. It's not fun to make a decision on.
No, because I also Jamarcus Ingram is a good football player.
Yeah.
And he's got inside outside versatility. I like what he did last year. Like, I don't think it's a guarantee that Strong necessarily beats out Ingram, although I would probably bet that if I had to. Yeah, this is like an emotional one that I don't like. I knew we would get to this point, and I didn't want to play this game at corner. I don't love Cam Lewis, but Cam Lewis has been super valuable for them at nickel in replacing Taron Johnson, and he's got some safety versatility and experience as well.
That's where I had him. I have him.
And then you've got Jordan Hancock, who's like a safety, but also plays like in the slot. Like
he is like a corner. Like at Ohio State, he played corner. Like
he played a ton of because they were crazy with what they did with downs everywhere at Ohio State. Like it's so there's so much like chess matchiness to and gamesmanship to the corner spot.
Well, I know I got Benford. I know I got Trey White, Harrison. I'm going Dane Jackson, Strong, Johnson. And then like I got caught up. Like I don't know where to put Cam Lewis. I don't even know if Jordan Hancock makes the team, let alone is he a corner or a safety? I was confused. I was actually really confused.
I have them both slotted as safeties, Hancock.
And then Ingram, I really liked what I saw like very briefly, but like also he's just caught. Like they drafted 2 corners for a reason.
Yeah,
3,
right.
Damn near 3 if you count Hancock. Like they just might be moving on.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. So Benford, Hairston, Dane Jackson, Trey. Not necessarily in order, but Benford, Hairston, Jackson, Trey, Strong. So I'm going with 5 outside corners. I think Taron Johnson makes it. And I think Cam Lewis makes it. I think they end up... Codrington is a wild card too, but I could see them end up settling with Ray Davis and Ty Johnson as their returners.
Yeah. That was what I was thinking too, but
then neither of them are great on punts, but that's fine, whatever. They don't force punts anyway because they can't friggin' stop anybody on defense. They either take the ball away or they get scored on.
We're putting Curtis Samuel back there for.
Man. Hey,
so he can do fucking something.
There.
I would love Reggie Gilliam back there. Bulldoze everyone. He's not playing on offense because my boy Jackson Haas. So you got to go somewhere.
That's fair. Understandable.
Yeah, it's going to be not fun when that final decision. I think I don't know if anybody's going to. Everyone won't agree with what decision is made here. I don't.
No, it's going to be tough. Someone's going to be upset. Fans are going to be upset, and like I know a lot of people probably say this for their teams, but like a good football player is going to get cut.
Yeah.
From the corner room, like both nickel and on the outside, like. They just have a wealth of dudes there from a depth perspective. Yeah, go to Cincinnati. Somebody needs to fill in for Hilton and build the depth back there.
Yeah, right. I also completely unrelated. Moving on to the safety room, I just comment. I didn't realize how many people hate Cole Bishop. Like every time I saw the name Cole Bishop, like the word terrorist was directly afterwards. Like, I was like, why? Why do they hate him? So, like it's a rookie that got beat by Nico Collins. Like that's not the worst.
And it was just a miscommunication. Like, God forbid the rookie who hasn't really played in this system or scheme before makes a mistake his first time. Like, oh God. And I say that, and I say that as a person who wasn't very high on Bishop as a fit for the Bills. I thought he belongs more. I think he's better the closer he gets to the line of scrimmage and the more he can play top down. So anywhere in and around the box, sideline to sideline, I think he's better. I thought he would be better suited in a defense like the Patriots or the Ravens, teams that use like 3 safeties and you don't know who's the safety, who's the nickel. Is one of their safeties going to be an off-ball dude, like playing him in kind of a Kyle Duggar type of role? I think that's where he's best, but the Bills don't do that with their safeties. And I don't think he pairs great with he's arguably the most athletic and with the most range, but he doesn't really have the vision and the processing on the back end to take advantage of it. So you want him closer to the line of scrimmage. And the best safety they have from a processing and vision standpoint is Taylor Rapp, but he doesn't have the range to really be on the back end like you want. Hamlin is just slightly above average at a bunch of things and is responsible. I think Derek Forrest is the biggest wild card here at safety. And if you told me Derek Forrest starts for the Bills, I would not be completely shocked. I think the inside track and what the Bills want is Rapp and Bishop. That's what they want starting at safety. But if you told me that Derek Forrest beat out Cole Bishop or Bishop gets banged up and Forrest wins a job, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. Forrest is arguably their best combination of athleticism, tackling, and coverage versatility from a single high and two high alignment. I think Derek Forrest is a sneaky wild card. Granted, I really like Derek Forrest. Oh, you're a Cincinnati guy. I love Derek Forrest when he was at Cincinnati, man. Like he was one. When they signed him, I was like, wait a minute. And I went back and I searched my Twitter handle and his name, and I had a bunch of tape clipped up from the 2021 draft talking about how much I love Derek Forrest. Like that was also years. It was like Forrest and then Sauce and Kobe came out after. Like Cincinnati was just rolling out all these like sick DBs. Yeah, so I could see Derek Forrest making some noise.
I was his biggest fan for a long time. Also, I'm a big UC fan. Him and James Wiggins were like the best.
Wiggins, that's it. I was like, in my head, I was like, who's the other safety? I was like, he was skinnier and a little taller. Wiggins, yes.
James Wiggins. They were both so good.
Ooh, they were just like heat-seeking missiles everywhere, making plays on the ball. They were
Wiggins was better in college, but Forrest has become infinitely better now. But I think he can play. If Cole Bishop, for whatever reason, can't beat the terrorist allegations, and if Taylor Rapp and DeMar Hamlin kind of produce the same way they were last year in coverage, I can easily see it.
Yeah, I think the concerning part, it's not that I don't like Cole Bishop. It is just he's really the only safety on this team outside of Jordan Hancock, who probably will be more of a nickel, type of presence for us in the future. He's really like the only long-term safety that we have in this room, and there was no other true addition to it. So they're clearly putting a lot into him, but at the same time,
which they should. He was a second-round pick last year. Like,
Jesus,
right? Which is insane. Which is insane in hindsight.
He was a decent prospect, but like, it's kind of wild.
I just didn't think him and Vaki were at Utah. And Vaki's a running back now, but great. Well, he played both sides at Utah. He was doing cool running back stuff and cool safety things, but they just played more like, for me, all of Bishop's best. There's like one off the top of my head I can think of where they were playing quarters and he matches from like the backside route and he matches it, he nails down on it and poaches it and makes a play. And it's like, all right, cool. But most of his best reps were all like man coveraging a tight end or a running back or playing as a robber or, sniffing something out and burying some dude on a drag route because he's the down safety in cover 3. Like I just didn't think it was a seamless fit. Like as much as everyone probably hates this answer, DeMar Hamlin is a better safety fit than Cole Bishop for the Bills defense because of how he plays and his skill set. And but then your ceiling is so limited because Hamlin's ceiling is limited. So like, it's just the safety spot is annoying. And after years of just having one of the best safety tandems in football, it's just so annoying to be at this spot. Yeah, you know that too. The safety is a pain point for the Bengals now. It's just wild how things change.
Let's go from Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. That was like my favorite safety duo to ever watch.
They were so cool. They were so awesome.
Now we got
they were really at the forefront of like the interchangeable. Poyer was more strong and Hyde was more free, but they both could do both. And that was really like, you removed free and strong. And it was just, no, we have two safeties. And now it's just Rapp is much more strong safety, but he has
cool.
That's
the reality. I think that's it. I think he's a strong safety.
If you could put Taylor Rapp's brain into Cole Bishop's body, I would take that because give me Rapp's processing and vision and in Cole Bishop's body. And also, too, some of Taylor Rapp's best stuff, I don't think Rapp's as bad as people make him out to be. But that run, ping point, Austin, like when the Rams won the Super Bowl against the Bengals, that playoff run, Taylor Rapp was the dime linebacker on third down. And there's reps in the Super Bowl where he's playing good coverage against like Chase and Higgins coming out of the slot. Like he was the dime linebacker because they brought in Eric Weddle out of friggin' nowhere. And it was Weddle and I forget who else were the safeties. Rapp got put to the bench, was as the dime linebacker. Like I thought that's where they were going with Rapp, but now he's full-fledged safety. it's just a weird position group of like limitations, redundancy, and not great like tandem fits. It's just so weird and so annoying.
Are you okay?
I've talked about this so much because I love DBs, like DBs, defense coverage.
Yeah,
it's just so annoying.
I was talking about Cave. He seemed really upset about
that because people were. I became toward the end of the draft process, and as the draft is leading up, and we started to hear more Malachi Starks. And
I
was
wanted
like,
Starks so
I
bad.
was that was
I
that
mocked
was what
him
I
to you
wanted.
every time. I gave. Do you remember how often I gave you him or some version of a safety? I was like,
I knew it wasn't the biggest need.
Next chess piece.
Man, I knew it wasn't the biggest need, but I kept saying it. I was like, I don't care if Malachi Starks is there. I'll take Malachi Starks. I don't care.
Instant starter, instantly great, immediately high impact player. Like I don't know how.
And then he goes to Baltimore. Man, him and Hamilton is such a nasty safety duo. Good luck dealing with that.
If they still had Ardarius Washington, I would have quit. I would have actually quit.
I really liked him. I was so upset when he got hurt. Little heat-seeking missile that he is, man.
Tiny little bug. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's so violent.
All that's left is teams, actual special teams. And we know Reggie Gilliam's, he's going to make the cut, but
QB1.
there actually is news with punter. Yeah. The first time.
Yeah, for the first time. I feel like we've been ripping through punters.
I know.
Oh, I get it. Sorry.
You guys.
Sarcasm. I missed that. I missed the
attack you.
on that one.
Well,
yeah.
We can get Brad Robbins out of the conversation. Very rarely have I ever heard the word terrorist being thrown around at a punter, but I have for Brad Robbins, actually, which is insane. Jake Camarda also it depends what version you get, because like 2022, 2023, I think just 2023 actually, but he was like a good punter, like legitimately good. And then last year, I don't know what happened. He was averaging like 30 yards a punt. It was weird. But if he goes back to his rookie year self, you got a good punter.
I'm glad you have those stats on the top of your head because I don't. I literally wrote here, Austin, this is all you, bro. Under the
I ranked punters, and it was my biggest TikTok of all time.
Yeah.
I had to.
Yeah, okay. You got it. I have no comments on the punter situation. If Brad Robbins sucks, if you say Brad Robbins sucks, he sucks.
He's awful.
I'll take your word.
Leave it at that. And I met him, and I wanted to beat him up.
Yeah,
I wanted to punch him. He's uglier in person.
I do have a question for you guys though about the kicker in Tyler Bass. He was better last year, but I don't think he's earned this badge of like one of the best kickers in the league that deserves to have no competition brought in at all. And like there are very few kickers in the NFL, I feel like, that have that badge. And the Bills gave him that badge, I felt like, pretty early, and they just never thought about it, despite his ups and downs. And I think based on last season, whoever they brought in, he would beat out. But why not? They love competition. It's like the whole they talk about it all the time, having camp battles, having guys go head to head. It's what drives the summer. Why wouldn't you want to have that at the kicker's one of the most competitive spots you can have a camp battle at? And that's like those reps for kickers matter probably more than any other position, to be honest with you. So why they never have thought to bring any, I don't know. That's baffled me for a while. I know he's got his head on straight now, but
yeah, I think it's just because like kickers are so volatile, and like to have one that's even like somewhat consistent and somewhat reliable, you just got to hold on to it, because like the alternative is like really, really bad. So like I feel like especially the Bills of all teams understand how important a kick could be.
All right.
So like
that's
unnecessary.
It matters. It matters. That's why like they finally have a decent kicker, and like they just got to hold on to him, because like he probably would make 9 out of 10 times that kick.
Glad all your money's in Burrow, Higgins, and Chase, and you have no offensive line.
And our kicker sucks too, apparently. Actually,
that's fair.
He was like the best kicker in the league for like 2 years, and now he's
he was.
bad.
Yeah, kickers are falling apart, especially in the AFC North.
Yeah. Well, some are doing it to themselves, but
that is also true. Yes. Yeah, I think Camarda wins the punter job. Bass is weird because like he had the yips, so like you don't want to mess with a dude like that and make him feel more insecure, but they did and brought in competition during the year, and he beat out multiple. Yeah, they brought in
Who's
multiple kickers to kind of push him during the year, and he kept winning and beating them out. And they were like, all right, cool, I guess we'll stick out. And then I don't know if that gave him the confidence to kind of right the ship, but they brought in, I think there was at least 2 times where they brought in kickers off the street to kind of have competition during the year during his struggles, and he won them each time. Obviously, he stayed on and started producing towards the end of the year. I don't think he's earned the badge as this this shooter at the kicker spot where you're just like, oh, just put him on. Like, he's not the automatic guy that people viewed him as initially. I think he's still fine. I think he's solid. I wouldn't mind giving him competition with how he responded last year, but you could also make the case and play devil's advocate that competition makes him feel more insecure and he gets the yips again. And kicker's it's crazy. It's such a heady position and it's like so mental. I just don't want to mess with that dude's mentals. Like, whatever is good for him, just stay that course and just don't do anything else. Like, don't even tempt the gods. Just let it rock.
Yeah. Well, I ate my words then. I honestly forgot. I just didn't even. I don't remember who they brought in or when.
Yeah, because he was really bad, like early in mid-year, and I forgot. I don't remember who they brought in either because it was inconsequential.
It was like Lucas Havrasik.
Oh yes, that's one.
His name,
yep. And he beat and then he had another competition. I think a couple weeks after that was like mid-year, like week 5 to 8, somewhere in that range. And he just kept beating dudes out, and then they were like, "All right, cool. I guess we'll keep rolling with you." And yeah, so they gave other dudes a shot, and Bass fended him off with a stick.
I'll eat my words then, because I do think I thought for whatever reason they never did that.
He's the second best Georgia Southern kicker in the NFL right now. Like he's coming for first place.
All right. Well,
he'll never be better than Young Wei-Koo.
Oh man, I've had him on my fantasy team so many years since 2018, 2019, whatever his rookie year was. Like, I've had Koo on like almost every single team.
I think Austin's anti-kicker in fantasy. I think he's a dictator like that.
That's fair. That's fair. I understand it. I remember picking up
my subjects rule before me.
That's fair. I remember picking Koo up off waivers in 2019. I was at Disney World in line, and I had to pick up a kicker on like a Wednesday, and I remember picking up Koo while I was in line. I forget what ride at like Magic Kingdom or something like that. Yeah. I remember picking up Koo, and I was like, "This will be sweet."
I want a Young Ho on my team.
That's exactly that. That's what I thought it was at the time. I was like, Young Ho, Koo, all right. And then it was like 2 years later, and it was like, no, it's Young Wei. And I was like, all right, well, I'm calling it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna dead name this guy. It's fine.
And I love all the memes that are always like, oh, like my old Ho sucks, but my Young Ho Koo.
Oh man. Well, the last thing that, we're kind of pressing for time, but the last thing I wanted to touch on was their win total, which is set at 11.5 per the sports books, and the over is favored. I will come right out and say that I think it would be kind of disappointing if the Bills didn't smash that over with the schedule that we have and what we're projecting for Buffalo, what we're projecting for their opponents. Like, and on top of it all, whether you view this as a good or bad thing, the contenders for the number 1 seed, and likely Baltimore and Kansas City and even Cincinnati, if you have them in that bucket, they are on the schedule. So you fully basically dictate your path to the number 1 seed. And when you have the schedule that they do, if there was ever a year to do it, to nab that bye, it's this one. So I'm smashing the over on 11.5 for Buffalo this year.
Same.
Oh yeah, I will as well. I'm very superstitious, but I will as well. I think there's 6 games they could realistically have a shot at losing. But I think they come in somewhere around like 13 wins, maybe 14 if all things go right. Well, I guess if all things go right, they'd be undefeated. But yeah, I think 13 wins is a not too unrealistic type of ceiling. And we'll see if that's good enough to get the 1 seed.
Yeah, pretty much.
Watch them go like 13-4, but they lose to both Baltimore and Kansas City and end up with the 3.
That would be the most Buffalo regular
Buffalo
season ever.
It'd be so annoying.
I came to this conclusion because I went through every game, and if I had them losing all of the games that I considered to be 50-50, and even with a loss to Miami, I still had them at like 6 losses, which was 11-6. So it's like,
they get one.
You win one of those 50-50 jump balls, and it's like, you're over the mark.
Yeah,
so
I agree. Very fair.
We'll see. Long way away, but fun conversation. I am very
Yes.
pleased with the talk. It was a good one. So Anthony, thank you for taking an hour and 39 plus
Oh my
seconds
God.
of your time to be with us. This was a blast.
No, I appreciate you guys having me. This was a very good time. I enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed the kicker jokes and the pain that comes along with missed kicks for the Bills. But no, this was sincerely a good time. Good football conversation. I'm down anytime you want me. This was awesome. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Yeah. And Austin, if you have any closing thoughts,
Out of one.
wrap it up. So as always, guys, if you enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe. All of our socials are in the description. All of our individual socials are in the description. Anthony's socials will be down there as well. Be sure you join the Discord if you're interested, and we will see you in episode 40.